Hi, everyone. Welcome to this 30-day Change, Grow and Transform series. And even though I've called it 30 days, there will be bonus episodes on there as we move forward. If you've got this far, well done. We're on day 25, and this is about trusting the process. So, I've been doing these kind of 30-day activities in private for a number of years, but decided to put my ideas and information and experiences out on YouTube to share with you, regardless of what stage of the journey you're at. I also want to make the information available, and that's why I connect it with an affirmation, an oracle card, a book, a song, and some journal tips that you can write down and consider, because there's so many things that we can do to make changes in our lives without it costing anything or that much money at all. But if you want to try a 3-session Kickstarter series with me, then follow the link below and we can explore that. There's only about 3 places. So do contact me and I'll let you know if that's available. So, this is about trusting the process. And the affirmation for this is I surrender control and trust that everything is unfolding in my highest good. So, before I go into more about this, I was talking to a friend this week about how, when I look back at the whole of my life, really, I've probably been trusting the process way more than I realized. So if I go back to the original time of when I left home at 18, and I really didn't have much idea about what I wanted to do. I got into catering, I'd already had some jobs as a cook, and um, didn't really have any visuals at all. And so when I started studying NLP in, I think it was 2006, the whole idea around setting goals was really beyond me. I hadn't really used goals much in my life, but life seemed to unfold and it just seemed to work out. And sometimes it is like that for people. I don't think we can always plan every moment of our day. This 30-day program is really just about connecting you with you and helping you connect with what you might truly want and what you do truly feel, and that authentic nature without all of the social pressures about who you should be based on your race, your gender, your culture, your class. Um, it's about helping you access the information outside of the noise, outside of the TV, all the conversations and the fears that are sort of around us and present all the time. This is about you having 10 to 30 minutes each day to build up momentum so that you can really connect with that and get stronger at listening to yourself and taking steps that feel right for you. So even though the idea is about surrendering control, is we can't really control what's going to happen tomorrow. The only guarantee seems to be that the sun comes up and then goes down. Everything else, is open to interpretation, and we place our own meanings on our experiences and the things we see around us. So we need to be mindful of the amount of noise we're exposed to and creating some practices in a busy world to connect us with what could turn out to be some really good moves on our part. So going back to being 18, I kind of only had this, okay, I could get a job working away. And that was under a suggestion of a friend, which I did. And within a couple of weeks, I was on a coach in the UK, going to an area I'd never been to before, to work for an employer I'd never met, only spoke to over the phone. And then did that, like that, worked for 6 months, 7 months in different hotels around the South Coast, and did that for a few years. And that's how it worked. Didn't have a bank account, hardly any money in my pocket, a small hold all, went and worked, had fun, met great people, and it just kind of unfolded. So often my decisions have only really been inklings, like a little notion of, I think that might be what I like to do next. So fast forward, I'm working in the hotels, I get married, and I think I don't want to do the split shifts anymore. I'd like a 9 to 5 job. I'd never done 9 to 5. So the idea of having Saturday and Sundays off was incredibly appealing. And I thought, oh, I might like to try and work in an office. Never worked in an office. didn't have any admin background or anything. Anyway, I got a job as an international courier company, and that was before email. We were sending telexes every day and started working in customer services. Well, I'd been working with people ever since I was like 15, and was good at that. And so that worked out pretty well. Did that for a couple of years and then thought, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. And again, didn't really have a goal and a plan. I just had this idea of I'm not sure I want to do that anymore. And started to think about doing some voluntary work. And this is how I ended up on the journey of getting into psychology, psychotherapy, personal development, and growth. And this was in 1994, I think. I started working for the Samaritans, and that, for anyone in the UK knows, is a 24-hour helpline that helps people who are in serious states of depression or stress and need someone to talk to. And I did that for a while and then decided to do an introduction to counselling course. I didn't really have much confidence in my own academic ability. I sort of didn't really complete a lot of school. I did a few things for various reasons. I'll talk about that, whether that's in a book or upcoming videos. And like a lot of women at the time, I'd had children and was entering back into doing some form of education. Luckily, it wasn't too demanding, and I met the most inspiring, amazing woman that was just brilliant, and that was it. I was hooked, and found out that she was a master practitioner in NLP, and everyone that I've met that are trained at that level have been amazing trainers and really positive. So that started me on the journey, and at each stage it was just a case of, yes, I think I'd like to continue, until I completed the diploma. And then the same thing happened in work. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to go back to working in an office or working in hotel and catering, although I could always fall back on that. I just had this idea that maybe I would set up private practice, but it was quite difficult back then. And also, the only services at the time were only in drug and alcohol services. There wasn't much therapy, it wasn't anything like what it is now. So each phase of my changing and growing was just a little sort of inclination, really, of, oh, I think I'd like to maybe do that or try that. And that often happened when I was in a job. I might start seeing something that somebody else does and think, oh, I quite like that. Why am I doing that? And that was only the question I ever really asked myself. And it wasn't anything. I always knew I'd find work. I always knew that I would be able to earn money. What level of money? I never really thought about it. We were from a working class background, and just having money to live from day to day was usually the focus. Did I think about those things much? No, not really. I just enjoyed the lifestyle that moving about and earning some money gave me, until I didn't want to do that. So I've completed my training, and it's now 2001. I decided to do the masters because I was absolutely fascinated with race, culture difference, and in particular was exploring topics of mixed race children and families, and the shifts and changes in law around how we define who we are, identity, and how that's linked to government and census and all sorts of other things, which again I'll talk about in another video. But the point is I was just pursuing the things that really I was interested in. And that's what the initial training helped me do. I started reading books that were just eye-opening, mind expanding, learning about things that I didn't know anything about before. And a lot of the psychology and therapeutic models were giving me insights into why I'd had some of the difficulties I had and what I was struggling with. And so as I developed further in that, I wanted to also help people also do the same, for them to get the insight so that they could make some changes and start to become more aware of themselves. So my work has always been about helping people develop awareness beyond who they think they are, what they think they should do, and where they think they are going, because often that is informed by ideas of social structures, cultural structures, and conditioned beliefs. And we talk a lot more about that in NLP. So my life has sort of continued to be that way, and that has expanded as my confidence in what was possible also expanded, which again started around 2016 because I knew I didn't want to work 5 days a week anymore. I wanted to work three, and started to find jobs that was 4 days and 3 days. And then I started to think, I'm not sure my heart is in the work I was doing anymore. And for some people, you can work and earn the money until your heart's not in it. And then you need to reassess and think about, okay, my heart's not in what I'm doing. What else might I like to do? And it's always about asking yourself these questions. What is it that I enjoy? What do I like to do? What would I like to do next? And seeing everything as a next natural step. Some steps are big, like moving from the north to the south in the UK. It was a big step. From me moving out of the hotel and catering world into the mental health and well-being world, moving house, moving jobs, and then starting to think, okay, what can I do with everything I've learned so far? And this was well before anybody was really using YouTube. And the idea of recording videos and putting my information video form was just, didn't even really think that was possible or something that I was going to be able to do. But as the passion for what I was doing, and I've been designing and creating programs since I started working in schools in 2003. I was working with 10 and 11-year-olds in transition, so change, grow, and transform. And teenagers as they were moving into year 7, I developed transition programs for young people so that they could have more confidence in their own abilities to also move from primary to secondary school and cope and manage better without getting anxious and depressed or into trouble with the teachers or just getting lost in the system. So I've been developing and designing these programs for a long time, and then later on designed a program for women who were leaving domestic abuse relationships, because we need to think about safety, security, and trauma that's mixed into that. So this is always about, where are you right now? What do you have control of? What is it? Where are you not feeling happy and where you lack the passion or your heart's not in it? And where is your heart moving you towards? Often it's outside of our awareness. We think it's all, we have to think everything through, but often meditation, mindfulness reminds us that we really need to just focus on stillness and allow our energetics, our physical, mental, spiritual, emotional bodies to settle, to move outside of what we think we know about ourselves and where we think we're heading, and start connecting with what sometimes are little blips, little insights to, have you thought about, I like history, I think I'll travel and I'll center it around history, or I like vineyards, I'll center my camper van travels around vineyards. And I watched a program last night that really opened up my mind about, it was Race Around the World, and thinking about the countries that they were going through, and the camera shots, the production is amazing. And they were going through China on this leg of the trip. I think it was on was it day 18, I think. And that just really, some of the scenes and sights I was seeing was absolutely mind blown. I just didn't know it looked like that. So again, that's outside of our awareness and outside of our control. So I'm giving you a little bit of a idea in a way about, sometimes we have to trust the process. There are forces or higher aspects outside of ourselves that we're not always connected to. And that's why, in a way, in the West, things like yoga, meditation, mindfulness practice has really taken off and is really important. But there is a downside to that as well, of that awareness, is that connect you with the truth that who you're dating, who you're with, isn't the person for you, and you're ignoring it. You don't want to get married, you don't want to settle down and have children, but you feel pressured, either social pressures or partner pressures. And so this is a lot of the work that I'm helping my clients unravel, of them being able to listen to themselves and hear themselves talking through things with me, and getting that insight that they can take away with them and ponder on and digest, and then if they want to make a step forward, they will. So some people end up really establishing great relationships, and other people start looking at what they've got and what they are still agreeing to that maybe no longer fits. And we're moving out of an era where it really was about the industrial revolution of working, your working week that makes you weak, as in WEAK, for the weekend. So you're too tired to enjoy your weekend, and then everybody starts to feel depressed on a Sunday because they don't want to do what they're doing Monday. And we're at a time in history really where many people can say, okay, I'm not happy with that right now. What small step can I take to move me in a direction of either doing more of my hobbies so that I'm getting some fun and happiness and feel satisfied, or what can I do as a side hustle that could become an income that when I give up my job or go part-time. So no one's asking anyone to take the leap, but to connect with you. So I want you, for the first tip here, is to think about surrender practice. Visualize placing your worries, concerns, and fears into a boat and putting it on a river and watching them be carried away by the current, and trusting that the flow of life is guiding you perfectly. Imagine that you're on a boat on the river, and what is the easiest way to float is when you're going downstream. You're not pushing upstream, you're not working harder, you're working smarter. You're finding a way of managing your energy. See your energy as currency. It's a current, it's a flow. And that every ounce of energy converts into, every minute of your energy converts into £100. How much energy, how much money you're giving away. And once you stop investing in things that are tiring and grueling, and then start looking at some of the other more subtle things, the more that you are opened up to the flow of life coming through again. And some people fear this, they fear the unknown, but really we're always in a state of unknown. We can't ever really guarantee what's going to happen tomorrow. And when I look back at my own journey, so I do that with clients sometimes, get them to review their life, their timeline of where they've come, what kind of challenges they faced, what they got through. They might not have thought they would, and how things sometimes turn around on a dime and have gone much better than anticipated. And I've had this bittersweet experience. I've been stood at conferences talking or delivering training, being utterly anxious and thinking, fearing that you're going to say the wrong thing, upset somebody or misconstrue something, and then at the same time exhilarated that you've done it, that you've met a personal goal. And often that's what it's about. It's about how do we set things up so that they are our personal challenges, our personal goals. So rather than, you don't have to make big goals, you can make a small goal, like get up, make a new recipe today, go to a different shop, go and explore something different, give your mind some new material. If you're doing Groundhog Day all the time, you've got to give yourself some new experiences. But a lot of it is about just surrendering the control and trying to make everything work. And sometimes we have to review whether the way that we are managing our life is working for us, whether we need to tweak it. I used to be getting up really early, be super focused, whereas I'm more focused and my brain works in a completely different way, sort of towards the evenings, and I used to do my gym and swim in the mornings, and I do that in the evening now. So sometimes we chop and change things because our energy systems have changed, we've changed. So hopefully this is helpful. And the book to consider is Letting Go by David Hawkins. It's a profound book that teaches us about the art of surrender, how releasing resistance, fear, and control opens you up to greater peace, love, and transformation. So hopefully that's been helpful. Do press like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next day.